John the Baptist is someone that we just don't have that much information about.
And John the Baptist was residing in the woods around Nazareth?
In the wilderness, yeah.
But around Nazareth?
Around Jerusalem, I think.
So then how does Jesus even come to meet?
Sorry, no, he would be, yeah, I actually
Where's that connectivity?
I don't know whereabouts. I don't know whereabouts, so he's probably not Jerusalem.
What's that?
They're cousins.
Oh, they're related.
By
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah, so...
John the Baptist is 6 months older than Jesus.
Oh, so we know each other their whole life. And he's watching this guy come up and he's like, hey, this...
So they, yeah, but then again, like, the story is in Luke's gospel. So, you know the birth story of Jesus, born in a manger and all this kind of stuff. That's only in 2 of the gospels. It's only in Matthew and it's in Luke. And they tell slightly different stories with emphasis on different things. Luke's gospel opens with the birth of, or the pregnancy resulting in John the Baptist.
Wait, what do you mean resulting in John the Baptist?
So, like, his parents.
His parents.
So the priest, Zechariah.
Oh, okay. So John is born.
So John, before he's born, like, there's the pregnancy, and it's like a miraculous pregnancy.
For John the Baptist as well?
Yeah, in the sense that, like, I think Elizabeth was not supposed to be able to, like, conceive.
You should love this guy. He also wrote a special about nothing.
Yeah, I mean, this is my guy. He did IVF? Okay.
Yeah.
So she wasn't supposed to conceive. It was very difficult to conceive.
Yeah,
and then she conceives, and here's John the Baptist.
And it's all sort of, but the thing to note is, and this is, yeah, they're cousins, because then Mary is pregnant with Jesus, and then Mary meets Elizabeth, and John the Baptist does a backflip in his mother's womb when she approaches Mary, who's pregnant with Jesus, and John the Baptist does a little backflip. It's kind of wacky, man. But the thing is, these birth narratives, in my view, are basically completely mythological.
Right.
I don't think there's any history in them.
Right.
So I'm not sure if Jesus was actually related to John the Baptist. I certainly don't think that there was the backflip in the womb.
But we can place them in the same city, at least. Like, there's a reason why they connect.
Yeah,
outside.
I mean, they clearly historically were actually, like I say, I think Jesus is a follower of John the Baptist, because, like, John is in the wilderness of Israel, and Jesus comes and gets baptized by John the Baptist. I mean, Jesus is sort of all over the place in his childhood. Like, there's like a census, and so he has to, like, travel, and then he has to go here and has to go there, and then he goes to Egypt because he's scared that Herod's going to kill him.
Yeah, how old and before Jesus started claiming to be like that dude?
Well, depends which gospel you read, because there is an indication that Jesus was, like, teaching in the temple when he was a teenager. So there's one story in the gospels of like, I think his family are, like, going back from Jerusalem. I can't remember all the details. It might have been the Passover or something, and they're all leaving and they're going home, and then they suddenly realize that Jesus isn't with them. So they go back and they find him, like, in the temple, like,
it's Home Alone,
arguing and talking. Yeah, literally. But he's arguing and talking with the like, Jewish teachers, and they're all like, "This kid knows so much. Like, this is incredible." And he's, like, impressing everybody with his skills and with his knowledge. Outside of that, the so-called missing years of Jesus. There's, like, no record of what he just shows up when he's, like, 30.
Yeah, I thought he was just,
and gets
like,
baptized by Jesus.
Jesus for 33 years, and then all of a sudden he
so this is
becomes
where you
Jesus
get conspiracy theories. While Jesus traveled to India, and that's where he got his.
Like, they're always there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable how right.
source.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to think, like, oh, well, he was preaching kind
He's
of
the first appropriator.
all of this. Yeah. Like, where's he getting these ideas? He's getting them from, like, the East, and we don't know what Jesus was doing. I mean, the reason why I think we have the missing years of Jesus is because there was no reason to write about this Jesus figure until he started his ministry. The birth narratives were made up later and tacked on, as often happened with biographies of important figures. There were, like, mythological origin stories, the miraculous birth of Alexander the Great or whatever. So I think we just didn't have any records of this guy because he was a nobody until he showed up.
He was an eat, pray, love dude. It was the first eat, pray, love, this long-haired white guy.
That's right, man.
Went to India, ate good food, got spiritual. It's exactly what happened.
That's right. So I think he basically did just show up and start doing that.
And if he was so clear that he wasn't divine, why did Christology come after his death?
That is a hell of a question. And in fact, Brant Pitre's recent... it's called Jesus and Divine Christology, which is an attempt to show that Jesus did claim to be God. And he opens up with what he calls the paradox of how most scholars think that Jesus didn't make divine claims, but most scholars believe in what's called an early high Christology. So early on, people had a high Christology. They believed that Jesus was God. So why is it that if he didn't make any claims to be God himself, Why is it that so soon afterwards people started believing that he was God?
John the Baptist was also martyred
Yeah, he was.
around the same time.
He was. And why do these beliefs develop around Jesus? That's a historical question, and obviously I don't know like the answer to it, but I think it's clear to me to see how like myths can develop over time. But this is where it gets a little bit speculative from my view, because Brant Pitre's view is that, well, the logical answer to this is that he was making divine claims. There are so many ways that you could interpret what's happened here. Firstly, I'm not sure exactly when it is that people start believing this. So remember I said that Paul's letters are our earliest New Testament source. A lot of people read Paul's letters and they say Paul is clearly presenting Jesus as God. And if that's the case, then you're looking like 50 AD, already got the belief that Jesus is God. I'm not so sure. Other people look at Paul and see him as not so obviously like high Christology in the way that people want him to be. He might be more of like a mystic. Some people think he's more of like a visionary. There's a lot of theories about what's going on in Paul. So it depends on what you think of Paul as to how early this actually develops. And yeah, like it's probably within decades, certainly like 100 years or so, that people start talking about Jesus as God. But then the nature of Jesus is also not entirely clear. You know, some people are like, well, was he God and he just appeared to be a human? Was he sort of half God, half man? Did he become God at the baptism? Was he God as soon as he was born? Did he exist beforehand? Did he come down to earth and into somebody, or did he begin to exist in Jesus? Like, and none of this really gets sorted out until they start getting Christian councils together to decide on orthodoxy. And so you've got the Council of Nicaea in 325, which a lot of people think is where they developed the Christian canon. That's not the case, but they did develop the view on Jesus's relationship to the Father, which is quite important.
So they just define it. 325. That's when they lock it in.
They have a big discussion, yeah, and they bring all the bishops together.
From that discussion as well.
They bring all the bishops together, and specifically, I think, like the relationship of the Son to the Father, and the idea that so you get what's called the Nicene Creed, which Christians will recite today, which basically lays out, you know, we believe in one God, we believe in the Father, we believe that, you know, Jesus is eternally begotten of the Father, all of this kind of stuff. They just lay it out, the relationship of the Trinity, all that kind of stuff. But the question is, well, why is it that in the early church people started believing that Jesus was God? Regardless of when this finally got solidified, how does this get off the rails? An important thing to note is that not everybody thought that.